Good evening, everybody. So I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to try to make this a pretty quick stream tonight so that way I can go rest and get some good sleep. I tossed and turned yesterday despite feeling sick, and I just couldn't get enough sleep. But too much happened towards the end of today. I can't not go on without covering it. So, as you guys know, we've been covering Candace Owens, this societal crisis that has been happening in our modern day. And, she just keeps fumbling and fumbling and fumbling on her own. She says things verbatim, she says things written in text, and then she always backtracks on it. And tonight, Piers Morgan had her on his show, and my goodness, if you guys are seeing clips circulate all on social media already, you know that this is pretty crucial. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So we're just gonna go through some of these clips, and I'm gonna insert my commentary as we go. It's quite a bit, so let's go ahead and get started. Come on. Oh, let's replace it. My bad. There we go. Okay. So she was on Piers Morgan tonight, and Piers Morgan absolutely chased her on her conspiracy theories. He chased her on all of the things that she has been, propelling to the public. Give me just 1 second. Let me fix this really quick. She has been basically chasing these conspiracy theories, and she basically can't catch up to her own lies. And Piers Morgan did a really, really good job tonight of just questioning her on her own things, the things that she has said. And it's almost embarrassing seeing her so uncomfortable, but at the same time, she's bringing this stuff up upon her head. And this is something that was inevitable. It was going to happen eventually. So let's take a listen to what they have to say, and let me just double check that my mic, yes, it is working. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what they have to say.
Or
So I want to.
He's so involved as somebody who's fighting a 97,000 front war.
Candace, I want to get to the reality of what you're actually saying. So when you say that somebody at Turning Point USA, Charlie's company, was complicit in his murder, who was?
I believe that there were multiple people at Turning Point who are, as I have said many times, my exact words are, they are engaged in a cover-up of what happened to Charlie on that day.
No, but who was involved in his murder?
I didn't say that they murdered Charlie.
You said that people at Turning Point were complicit in his murder.
No, my exact sentence that I said was that there were people at Turning Point who are engaged in a cover-up.
No, you didn't.
I believe that thoroughly.
What she also said, if you guys recall, was that there were friends, and she always implied TPUSA and the people that orbited TPUSA. She always implied that they were, the target audience, or the target of a target of hers. And she did imply that they would have to give some sort of approval for, whatever activities orbited around Charlie Kirk's assassination, the logistics somehow. So she's also said that, and I'm surprised that that's not brought up right now. But not only has she accused TPUSA associates, but she's also said that they had to have given approval for his assassination, something to that matter.
Thoroughly.
Candace, you didn't say that. You said literally.
I did say that on my entire show.
You said there were people at Turning Point complicit in his murder.
Okay.
That's what you said.
When you and I were discussing, that's why I said, let's go back. I was applying the logic of a conspiracy to JFK. I said, okay, if JFK, you have people that are complicit. Of course, if you apply that logic, if there is a conspiracy, there's going to be multiple people that are going to be complicit by the time, in order for a large stage murder to happen.
You specifically said, you didn't say complicit in a cover-up. You said complicit in the murder. Because I said, who at Turning Point was involved in his murder? And
let me clarify for you. Okay, you can keep saying what I said, or you can listen to what I am saying.
Okay.
When I was using the analogy of JFK and we were connecting it, I was basically pushing back on you because you were suggesting that, all of these people being involved would be crazy. So I was applying the analogy
I said
of
I
what
don't
happened
know.
to JFK. Well, you actually, if you go back and listen,
said I don't know.
Suggesting that a conspiracy.
I said you don't know either.
Well,
you're floating theories.
When we started talking about the JFK thing,
listen, let me make it clear.
Piers, I really think you're not holding on to your thoughts.
Candace, let me spell out my thought very clearly.
When we started talking about JFK, the implication that you were making was that it was crazy to suggest.
I just want you guys to take note that when somebody like this continuously talks over the host or somebody who is facilitating the questions, it's almost always that they're trying to take control of the narrative. They're trying to hijack the conversation. And I truly believe out of all of the character patterns that I've seen out of Candace Owens, I genuinely believe that that is what she is trying to do here.
That multiple people could have been involved at different levels.
Candace.
I was then connecting the dots and saying that in order for the JFK assassination to happen, there had to have been tons of people that were complicit.
I understand.
Right?
I heard what you said.
Maybe you're the person who takes the cameras down. Maybe you're the person that told him to drive that day. Maybe you're LBJ. So they're not all complicit in the murder, but they're all at different varying stages involved in the cover-up. Right? So that's what a grand conspiracy actually is. And I do believe, so you don't have to go back and we don't have to go through it. I'm telling you what I think about Turning Point. You know, I am very known for being honest about what I believe. You're not I'm not exactly a person that you got to pull teeth on.
Sure.
I believe that there are people at Turning Point who are engaged in covering up what happened on that day.
But were any of them engaged in the planning of the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I wouldn't know how it was planned. Absolutely, I can't make that. I cannot confidently make that statement. I can say confidently that I know they're engaged in the cover-up because I've been investigating what happened on that day and what transpired thereafter. I've been clear. I've named those people on my show. I've said they are engaged in a cover-up, and I've listed the lies. So you don't have to try to make something out of what I didn't say. I tell you what I think. It's already controversial. We don't need to get more controversial, okay? Do I think someone at Turning Point pulled the trigger? No. Obviously, I don't think someone at Turning Point pulled the trigger. We don't even know who did pull the trigger. So how could I say that they're...
Did anybody at Turning Point, in your opinion, know that Charlie Kirk was going to be murdered?
There is specifically 2 people at Turning Point USA, and I have communicated that information to Erica and Justin Strife, that I would not be surprised if they had foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk being assassinated.
But do you have any evidence?
I'm not going to name. I am not going to name those people, okay? Because it's not right for me to name those people until I know for a fact that they did.
Did you give the names Did you give the names to Erica?
Yes, I absolutely did.
You gave the names to Erica of 2 employees, current employees at Turning Point, who you believe were involved in the preparation for the murder of Charlie Kirk. Is that what you're saying?
I told them that if I were in your shoes, these would be 2 employees that I would look further into. That's
and what evidence do you have that they had any prior knowledge of the murder?
Because I don't have concrete evidence is the reason why I'm not naming them. So I've been
responsible. You've got no evidence,
saying...
but you're telling the widow that these 2 people may have been involved in the murder. But you see the problem.
Well, the evidence for it is people that there is not concrete evidence. It's like you're trying to get me to say something that I never said and then asking me to defend it.
No, I'm asking what.
He is being very straightforward with Candace Owens, and he's asking her, why would... Okay, it's just basic. There's 2 people, you just said, verbatim out of her mouth, she said that there were 2 people that she suspected out of Turning Point USA that, and then she just worded it just now, that she would not be surprised that they would have some sort of foreknowledge. I think that's what she's insinuating. I think that's what we're insinuating from the conversation coming out of Piers, that they would have some sort of foreknowledge in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, that's the problem, because now Piers is walking her to what, like, just even if I were Candace, like, this is what you do. What is the contextual evidence at minimum? You know what I mean? Like, we're asking for concrete evidence, but she can't even give contextual evidence or corroborated evidence. Candace Owens straight up just said that she did not have evidence whatsoever of this happening, you know? And I find that very troubling, because this is a woman for 3 straight months here who has implicated and insinuated, and she has accused for 3 months straight. And not just that, she has done this very heavily up against TPUSA. So now she is put up facing her own words, and she is fumbling over it. Fumbling. We're almost through with this clip. We're almost through.
What evidence
let's
you've
actually
got.
go to, you're asking me privately, did I communicate to them that I think you should look further? That's called an investigation, Piers.
Okay. Yeah, precisely. That's called an investigation. That's what we have been talking about this entire time. It is an investigation, and we went through it yesterday. If you guys weren't here for the stream yesterday, we talked about how Candace Owens on one of her first days back, from a meeting privately with Erica Kirk, she even said herself that, she was under this impression that the FBI were, I'm paraphrasing here, but she was under this impression that she can get authorities and that maybe even she could be the person that looks at the evidence and can report back to her audience and just tell her audience, like, this is what I've seen. And, she she came onto her podcast yesterday and said, "Oh, I learned that what we have is what we all have. Like, we're not going to get more evidence." And that's precisely what we've all been saying. Like, this entire storm has developed out of a misunderstanding of how an investigation works. It's basically what it is. That's basically what it is. Now, do I think that Candace Owens knows that? Yes. I don't think that Candace Owens is dumb. In fact, I think that she is deeply manipulative. I think she is deeply orchestrated and calculated, and I think that she knows this. I don't see any way that she wouldn't know this, because if anybody were to, expose any evidence, there'd be any leaks, then it could cause so many different things, like tainted jury pools. It can cause a mistrial. It can build a better case for the suspected person. There's so many things that can happen. So with that being said, now, I also wanted to go through this clip right here. So this just kind of shows further. And I know that we keep catching Candace over and over, lying, lying, lying. I have yet to pull up. It did a fantastic thread. If you guys have seen it, let me know that you've seen it in the chat. He did a fantastic thread. He actually showed his face, I believe, for the first time. Maybe it's like one of the rare times that he does, but he's an anon online, and he did this pretty thorough dig on the flight schedule that Candace Owens recently overviewed. And he even spent his own money. I believe it was like upwards $950 for this flight data that shows you historical flight logs, and he proved that Candace Owens, 66% of the line items that she showed on her podcast that were flight logs were incorrect. I think that's pretty considerable. So I think I'm gonna do that another night. Like I said, tonight you guys can hear it in my voice. I'm under the weather, so I'm trying to do a quick stream tonight just to cover the high points of today. But this is just another example of how she got caught, in her own words, lying live.
Obviously, for this to have been pulled off, there had to have been multiple people involved. There had to have been people at Turning Point that were complicit in having this happen. I didn't say that they murdered Charlie.
You said that people at Turning Point were complicit in his murder.
No, my exact sentence that I said was that there were people at Turning Point who are engaged in a cover-up.
No, you didn't.
I believe that thoroughly.
Candace, you didn't say that. You said literally.
I did say that on my entire show.
You said there were people at Turning Point complicit in his murder.
Okay.
That's what you said.
Obviously, for this to have been pulled off, there had to have been multiple people involved. There had to have been people at Turning Point that were complicit in having this happen.
You said complicit in the murder. Because I said who at Turning Point was involved in his murder. And
let me clarify for you. Okay, you can keep saying what I said, or you can listen to what I am saying.
Okay.
When I was using the analogy of JFK and we were connecting it, I was basically pushing back on you because you were suggesting that, all of these people being involved would be crazy. So I was applying the analogy of what happened to JFK. Well, you actually, if you go back and listen.
I said I don't know JFK's assassination. And we recently had a lot of the files released, which did not conclusively prove any of these things, right? Now, again, I don't know what happened to JFK.
No,
make it clear.
Piers, I really think you're not holding on to your thoughts
Candace,
here correctly.
let me spell out my thought very...
Had to have been people at Turning Point that were complicit in having this happen. My entire show...
You said there were people at Turning Point complicit in his murder.
Okay.
That's what you said.
I really think you're not holding on to your thoughts
Candace,
here correctly.
let me spell out my thought very
manipulative she is. Do you see how manipulative she is? She literally right now with her own words, Piers Morgan, all that he's doing is he's picking up what she just said and asking her about this very subject, and she's trying to manipulate and finagle out of this conversation, acting as if she didn't say the very thing she just got done saying. Okay. So anyway, Piers Morgan, I think, people have their mixed feelings about him, and I understand that completely. However, he does some good interviews sometimes. Sometimes he gets people, and this is one of those times, I believe. This is definitely one of those times. Now, I can't. Yeah, here we go. So there's just one more clip that I want to show you guys of her basically saying like the people. So if you guys have been online, whether it is on any platform, I don't care where it's Facebook, it's Instagram, and X. But if you go to any platform that Candace Owens is on and you look at the comments, you are noticing that people are her own fan base has been groomed into this, a feral conspiracy minded, group, this mob. And if you've stood up to any of these people, you know how they respond, and it's pretty rough. It is pretty aggressive. It's so that behavior, that demeanor that she has brewed up inside of these people is now starting to boil up to a point where they're getting built up to this boiling point where they're expecting evidence, they're expecting something spectacular, and it never gets delivered. And finally, this big pivotal event happens where she is, talking to Erica Kirk, and this whole thing is supposed to, basically bring some answers, as her fan base has been told over and over and strung along. And finally, this meeting happens, and her podcast yesterday was basically, I said this on my Twitter feed, on my X feed, that I believe that the attorney presence, whether they were there or not, I believe that they were called in. The attorney presence definitely, I think that it scared Candace, because she was walking back claims in her own way, mind you, but she was still walking back claims, and she was backpedaling on certain things. Now, with that being said, that's very unlike her. I don't know what's going on, but that's very unlike her. And so her fan base has now began to turn on her, and they're saying things like she got bought, that that the deal was made, and Erica paid her off, and things like this. Like, there's so many other tangential conspiracies are being born out of this, and so the backlash is real, and it's in real time as well. You guys can go on any platform. You guys probably even have your own friends and family that are like starting to break the scales off of their eyes about this entire situation. And praise God for that, because this is truly a concern. This was truly concerning the masses who fell for this. And so people are starting to realize that Candace Owens has just been stringing them along, just like people like me have been warning and shouting to the rooftops, "Hey guys, she's lying." Go back to my other YouTube videos from earlier, a few months ago. You can see how much slander and how many ugly comments that I got. I mean, this was like abusive. So anyway, Candace Owens is getting a taste of her own medicine, and she is saying that it is the bots, that there are bots that are infiltrating her platforms everywhere, and it's definitely not organic.
I would say too involved at the hospital. When I tell you this story, your jaw is going to hit the floor. We also have never before seen photos of the vehicle. I know I sound like a Fed here, that Charlie was transported in to the hospital when they were trying to save his life. I'm telling you, my perspective is that all of these leads are ramping up. The reason for that is because the general public is actually not receptive to what is very clearly a military grade psychological operation, complete with influencers and botted activity on social media. We're so let down. It's over. I'm never watching this show show ever again. Can't make money. The people can see what you're doing, feds. They can see it. I can see it. And now we're gonna, got to go Max today. Welcome back to Candace. I would say too involved at the hospital. When I tell you this story, the floor, we also.
So she's saying that people who are genuinely pushing back on her, which is her own fan base. This is her own fan base. Like, how much do you think you can gaslight the public, and how long do you think you can do this for? How long do you think that you can string people along on this grift? And sadly, there are still people on that train. Sadly, there are still people on the Candace train, and they're in for a rude awakening because this stuff is not stopping. Now, I want to share just two more things. That was a clip that I said I was going to end on, but there's two more things that I want to share with you guys because this is pretty relevant, and I think that this is a lens inside of the Candace Owens world. I think that Candace Owens is genuinely shaken up about the things that are impending or in the pipeline for her, and this is something that I think would be some sort of foreshadowing in the Candace Owens world. Now, the New York Post recently, they wrote an article, and I'm not sure if you guys have, I'm pretty sure you've seen screenshots of this because this has been shared everywhere. But the New York Post, they created this article on Candace Owens, and they basically divulged on so many details about her past, her the lawsuits that she has filed on other entities such as her apartment, that she, this just a plethora of very problematic things that Candace Owens has done and has I guess caused on other people. But I'm going to catch the chase. I'm not going to read this entire article to you because there was actually something that was pretty significant that I learned. Now, it goes to show, like, there were several people that came from different insiders in Daily Wire and TPUSA. Basically they were saying that she was an unpleasant person. There was some account that she threw her keys at some producer to go park her car, something like that. Now, and then also, it was said that she actually was not invited to a lot of the Charlie Kirk affairs, like his own personal wedding, and I thought that was pretty significant. Now, let me get to this part right here. So it talks about here it is right here. This is the part right here. So this part is very important because I think this is foreshadowing. It says sources also allege Owens' anti-Semitic behavior has stained ties with her own extended family. Her British father-in-law, Lord Michael Farmer, who is George Farmer's father, that is her husband's father, and her husband's dad, basically her husband's father, issued a statement after Owens repeated various comments about Jewish people. In view, it keeps disappearing on me. It just went blank. In view of public comments from a high-profile member of my family, I want to put my own views on anti-Semitism on public record, he wrote, explaining how he had known many Jewish people in his private professional life and serves as a Christian deputy chair and Jews, a group founded as a bulwark against anti-Semitism. So that is her own father-in-law, and he's basically disavowing the remarks and the sentiments that she has publicly put forth about Jewish people. And this is the part right here. This is the kicker. Sources said that if Lord Farmer cuts off his son, if Lord Farmer cuts off his son, George Farmer, and Owens, they would face further financial complications. All right. And also, with that being said, she's also facing the lawsuit with the Macrones, which this article also states that she's faced, like, if this lawsuit does continue, if it does end up where they are successful in pursuing this lawfare against Candace Owens, she is looking at a hefty number. This can possibly ruin Candace Owens. So this is just my personal opinion. In my personal opinion, I believe that Candace Owens knows that this is starting to rack up. That's what I personally think. And so with that being said, the Macron's lawsuit facing some sort of lawfare with TPUSA if she doesn't stop her, bull smack, accusing people at TPUSA, basically dragging the entire organization. She told people that they should go pull their donations. Yeah, so basically she's facing that type of lawfare. Now, this is the other thing right here that I wanted to show you. Now, there is another lawsuit that she's facing, and Tim Pool recently revealed this, that he became privy to some information that one of the security staff, I believe it was like some security entity that she kept like slandering, and that basically that person was going to file some sort of legal paperwork this week. If I can get this tab to cooperate with me here, give 1 second. There we go.
The people that Candace has been accusing of very serious crimes and malfeasance, she has personally worked with.
Oh.
And I'm not the only one who knows this. So we'll see. I'm actually working on getting some of these people to come on the show and working on it. The challenge is, however, that many of these people are, I probably shouldn't say this, I'm going to say it anyway, they are filing legal action against her. And so their lawyers are basically saying, if you're going to file legal action, you can't do the press stuff.
So,
but I think that's why she's walking back after the Erica Kerr thing. Or
yeah, I mean, you were saying this.
Well, yeah, like I said, I truly believe that the meeting, and she admitted it. She whether she did it on purpose or it slipped out in her show, she says Erica's lawyers not fully convinced me of something. That means that Erica, her lawyers, and Candace was there with her lawyers.
I'd have been recording it all.
That means
to make sure she didn't put out anything. I'd have been secretly been wired.
Not two girls trying to sit down. No, it was arbitration. I said from her statement Candace made last night.
All right, so you guys get the picture here. Candace Owens is possibly facing not just one lawsuit, but multiple lawsuits, within the world of TPUSA, and just so much impending, so much in the pipeline. So yeah, I mean that's why I personally believe that she was walking back her claims in yesterday's podcast episode, and she's going to have some sort of legal consultation on how she can proceed forward with her her podcast, where she's still able to make conspiracies, but at the same time not slander the group of people and the individuals that she's been slandering this entire time. So I truly believe that she's in some hot water, and I don't think that Candace had no way of like pulling the brakes, because she was getting high off of the clicks and the clout and the attention, and that's very scary. I mean, that's just a lesson for a lot of us. It says in Proverbs 26 through 27, it talks about being found in malicious, like this is in the book of Proverbs in the Bible. It says that their malice will be concealed by deception, but their wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and if someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. This is in Proverbs 26 through 27. And I truly believe that this is what we're witnessing here. We're witnessing Candace Owens having to face her own music. She's having to taste her own medicine. It's horrible, because like in the Bible, there's so many instances where like if you're doing something bad unto somebody else, like it a lot of examples, it always happens back at you, but like worse, worse. It's in a way where God brings a remembrance to what you did. Like you will be reminded about what you did. There's no way that God is going to cause this affliction or allow this divine justice, his own vengeance to happen to you, and you don't know, you're not reminded about what you did to other people. So, it's strange because Candace, I think she feels it. She's like starting to feel the water boil, but I don't think she truly can perceive what can go wrong. And so, that's where the danger is, because a lot of her fans are taking up on the same path that she has taken, and that's a very scary thing, and that this is why we keep exemplifying things here on this podcast. So, with that being said, guys, I am looking for moderators. If you are interested in being one of my moderators and you're like interested in participating in the stream, please drop a comment in the comment below, so that way I can, or in the live chat, so that way I can keep note of who you are. But yeah, I'm looking for moderators. I mean, obviously, whatever, people are going to leave whatever comments they want, but it would be nice to have moderators on these live streams. I do plan on doing this format from here forward, because like I said in yesterday's stream, it's just so much, like in the same time that I record one video, I have the same time to record several topics in one stream. So I would rather do that, because there's just so much that I want to talk about, so much that I want to recap. And truly, like I said yesterday, our culture is continuously becoming more and more corroded. And if we can implement a biblical perspective in some of this stuff, like I truly believe that we can start with, these examples and exemplify that in our walk, in our proclamation of the gospel, and how to exemplify what is good, what is bad, what is of God, what is not. And so if we can continuously do this and illustrate this in our culture, I think that this would be really, really good. So let me see, and I'm gonna look back. This is why I'm gonna bring up the chat. Truth Lady rose her hand. Cool beans. I'm gonna add you as a moderator. Anybody else like to be a moderator? That would be great. Let me know. I would love to have some people with my perspective moderate my chats, just in case it gets unruly and things like that. And if you are watching this after this live concludes, still put your comment in the chat that you're interested in becoming a moderator. I've had some pretty great moderators in the past. I just don't know that they have active accounts anymore, so I've got to refresh my moderator pool. So with that being said, thank you guys so much. I love you so much. I will do this as much as I can. Of course, next week is going to be Christmas, and so I will probably miss out on 2 days. Obviously, Christmas Eve, Christmas, and then we'll see. I mean, I might take the rest of the tail of the week off, just to spend time with family and just truly punch out. So we'll see. But I will set these live streams up ahead of time so that you guys would know. So with that being said, guys, I love you so much. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And let me just see if there's anything worthwhile. Yeah. I will see you guys in the next stream. I love you.